Have you ever noticed how life suddenly begins to align the very moment you stop forcing everything? It feels contradictory, almost unbelievable. We grow up hearing, set goals, chase them, win. Yet what if the real breakthrough lies in the opposite direction? What if the very attachments we cling to, people, outcomes, fantasies, are the anchors pulling us down in relationships, career, and even our search for inner peace? Carl Jung, one of the deepest thinkers in psychology, pointed out an uncomfortable truth. The harder we grip life, the faster it escapes our hands. And today, we're going to explore why releasing that grip may be the only true path to freedom. Stay until the end. Just one shift in perspective can overturn everything you thought you knew. And if you want to dive further into your own depth, make sure to subscribe. We cling with all our might to how things should look. And that's exactly when life starts pushing back. Everything malfunctions. Instead of stability, attachment often births tension. But here's the paradox. When we loosen our grasp, the world exhales, and suddenly things that refuse to move begin aligning effortlessly. Jung captured this beautifully. What you chase flees. What you accept transforms. We live in a culture obsessed with constant striving. Peace is always just one achievement away. But this endless attempt to control every outcome only traps us deeper. This isn't surrendering in defeat. It's shifting from restless tension into conscious awareness. Studying the depths of the human psyche, Jung discovered a crucial law. When we become fixated on fantasies, our ideal partner, perfect future, flawless success, we lose sight of the inner world shaping all our experiences. Wanting success is natural, but problems arise when our identity fuses with the outcome. If I become my job, my relationship, my achievements, then failure becomes a threat to my very existence. And from that comes fear, anxiety, the compulsive need to manage every detail. Jung called this the ego's desperate attempt to preserve its illusions. Real transformation doesn't occur when we exhaust ourselves forcing change. It appears when we stop resisting life, not out of weakness, but because we understand the deeper flow guiding us. Letting go doesn't mean abandoning dreams. It means allowing new possibilities to emerge. Possibilities that aren't limited by our narrow expectations. It is trust in the invisible wisdom that life carries. When this happens genuinely, chaos starts making sense. Opportunities appear organically. The constant mental pressure dissolves into a remarkable feeling of presence. Letting go doesn't kill the dream. It kills the illusion that the dream must unfold exactly as we imagined. It frees us from the prison of "I must" and opens us into the vastness of awareness. But what if the real issue isn't the person we're attached to, but what we project onto them? Jung was direct. We rarely cling to people. We cling to our expectations, our fantasies, our need for validation, love, or salvation. We assign others roles they never agreed to play. What we refuse to meet inside ourselves, we chase outside through idealizing or demonizing someone else. In this distorted reflection, unhealthy attachment grows. The ego tries to turn people into extensions of its desires. Fear of rejection disguises itself as ambition. Emotional hunger masquerades as romantic need. What we think of as high standards often hides a deeper emptiness. But no one can fulfill an impossible role forever. When the illusion collapses, disappointment arrives. Jung viewed this as a defense mechanism, blaming others rather than facing our shadows. Yet the moment we recognize our projections, something astonishing occurs. Reality clears. The other person becomes human again, flawed, beautiful, real. Releasing illusions is painful, but it brings enormous relief. It marks the beginning of honest relationships, especially with ourselves. When you stop chasing the thing you thought would complete you, a surprising truth emerges. You are closer to your real self than ever before. And then, almost effortlessly, life begins flowing again. When we stop trying to dominate every detail, inner space opens. We become capable of connecting without controlling. But what happens when illusions break? The ego panics. It clings even tighter to what is slipping away. Here lies the key difference between inner direction and obsessive control. One comes from inner alignment, the other from fear wrapped in competence. We plan obsessively, analyze every scenario, trying to guarantee safety, but hypercontrol is simply the ego trying to outrun life's unpredictability. Jung said neurosis replaces real experience. Control becomes an anesthetic. Instead of feeling, we strategize. Instead of vulnerability, we hide behind routines. But control is not living. It is merely enduring inside a manufactured bubble. Without spontaneity, life loses color. Relationships become mechanical. Days lose meaning. The inflated ego insists it must manage everything. It clings to one correct way to live. Any deviation brings guilt, anxiety, self-blame. The mind becomes overloaded, like a system running too many programs. Exhaustion follows, not from weakness, but from the impossible demand of perfection. Beneath the controller lies fear of surrender. But surrender is not defeat. It is recognition of forces, inner and outer, that don't bend to willpower. Jung saw the unconscious as a living intelligence shaping our lives. Ignoring it traps us in shallow rationality. Letting go of control is an act of courage, trusting that even chaos carries wisdom. It doesn't mean drifting without direction. It means letting life surprise you. Yet we live in a world where even silence is scheduled. The more rigidly we cling to plans, the more we drift away from ourselves. When we simply observe, feel, and listen without rushing to act, we discover life has a rhythm of its own, and it knows where to take us. What if true freedom comes not from controlling the ego, but from reorganizing it? This is the turning point where the exhausted ego softens and turns inward to the self, the core of our being, not the social mask, not the title, but who we are when we stop performing. As long as the ego drives, life revolves around external expectations. How should I act? How should I appear? What will others think? Letting go of these scripts isn't regression, it's return. Jung called this individuation becoming whole by integrating the conscious and unconscious. It starts with small breakthroughs, choosing a new response, letting a role fall away, sitting with loneliness after a breakup instead of rushing to fill it. These openings become gateways. They're not comfortable, but they are real. Surrender begins when the ego accepts its limits, when it no longer needs to control or explain everything. That's when something quiet awakens. The self. It doesn't dominate, it guides. Its truths emerge through resonance, not logic. This form of letting go is presence, taking action without obsession, loving without fear, creating without begging for approval. In individuation, the ego doesn't die. It changes roles, becoming an ally instead of a tyrant. And when this shift takes place, everything transforms. Relationships deepen, choices become purposeful, life becomes something to experience, not conquer. Letting go isn't losing, it's integrating, allowing what must leave to leave, and letting the new enter naturally. But before the self emerges, we must face the persona, the mask we wear to be accepted. A necessary mask, but dangerous when we confuse it with identity. Strength, spirituality, success, perfection. These labels may look impressive, but maintaining them drains the soul. Jung saw the persona as a bridge between self and society. Problems arise when we cling to the mask, defending it at all costs. Liberation comes when we realize we don't need a fixed narrative about who we are. We can change, contradict ourselves, grow. We don't need to match yesterday. We only need to be true today. From this honesty, authenticity is born, even if it doesn't please others. Letting go of the persona is radical courage. To stand without armor, to be real even if it dismantles the identity we displayed for years. But this vulnerability frees us. It's stepping off the stage and breathing for the first time. Jung expressed it simply: who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. Attachment to the mask is a waking dream. Awakening begins with embracing the complexity the mask hides. Behind the mask lies the shadow, the parts of ourselves we avoid. Freedom scares us because it exposes us. No more hiding in roles or people or promises. Freedom demands responsibility for our whole self. The shadow isn't the enemy. It is the missing piece. Only those who face it find a freedom that no external circumstance can threaten. The shadow often reveals itself in love. We confuse love with need. The difference between wanting someone and fearing life without them is profound. Jung said love begins where projection ends. When we cling to what someone represents instead of who they are, we can't see them, nor see ourselves. In the beginning, idealization is natural. We project safety onto another, but dependency follows. The partner becomes a symbol, not a person. Love turns into fear of loss. I need you so I can feel whole. But that's not love. That's emotional survival. Letting go doesn't eliminate love. It elevates it, removing possession and fear. It lets the other exist freely. To love without possessing requires maturity, the understanding that people change, choose, and leave, and still deserve respect. It requires inner work, finding wholeness inside instead of demanding it from another. Love without possession is not cold. It is warm, present, open. It is connection without losing oneself. Real love begins where projections end, but maintaining masks and emotional dependencies drains us. Eventually, the burden collapses. The ego that once felt strong under control becomes exhausted. The exhaustion is not laziness. It is the psyche screaming, "I can't pretend anymore." This is the moment the true self begins rising, not loudly, but patiently. Jung saw these breakdowns as breakthroughs. Inner chaos signals deeper reorganization. Burnout today is not only overstimulation, It's an overload of roles and a drought of authenticity. A life built on image demands constant energy. When the mind shuts down and motivation disappears, something deep is asking, who are you beneath all this? Letting go becomes not escape, but freedom. You stop forcing life, you stop proving, you pause, and instead of vanishing, you begin to appear. The ego fears this, believing everything collapses without its struggle. But surrender is insight. It is recognizing that force leads nowhere. Ignored psyche creates symptoms. Acknowledged psyche creates direction. Tiredness from pretending is a message. Rest is not failure. It is transformation. It is the opportunity to release the weight and allow something true to grow. When the mask falls, there is pain, rarely acknowledged. The pain of losing an identity you lived through. Letting go often feels like death, a symbolic one, but no less real. Letting go of hopes, imagined futures, outdated roles is grieving what never fully existed. And this grief deserves respect. Jung did not treat suffering as a mistake, but as transformation. Without symbolic death, there is no rebirth. When something ends, a failed plan, a broken love, a cracked identity, the pain is real. Letting go isn't an emotionless choice, but a deep emotional purification. The emptiness is frightening, but it is fertile. It holds relief and sadness, freedom and loneliness, fear and courage. This is psychological mourning, not only for the loss itself, but for the self that was wrapped around it. The ego looks for logic. The self looks for meaning. Honoring this pain is essential. Only by walking through it consciously can we evolve. Pain, when acknowledged, becomes wisdom. Letting go also means grieving invisible losses, those that leave no physical trace but reshape the soul. And from this inner wound, life quietly begins to re-emerge, not as certainty, but as possibility. When the old truly dissolves, something unexpected happens. Life reorganizes itself. Silence becomes nourishing. Emptiness becomes spacious. And in this space, new growth emerges. Growth that was impossible while life was cluttered with expectations. It's like opening a window after years. Light enters, air shifts. At first, it feels strange, but then comes breath. The mind stops chasing and begins listening. Listening to sensations, time, intuition. Imagine someone who stayed in a stagnant relationship out of fear. When they finally let go, not just of the other person, but of the illusion, silence arrives, then emptiness, then space. And in that space, creativity returns. They write again. They cook with joy. They walk and actually feel the air. Music sounds different. Creativity becomes an expression of being. Jung described how energy returns once we stop feeding the ego. The energy wasted on control and image comes back to us, and it must flow somewhere. This is where creativity emerges, not only artistic creativity, but existential creativity. Rebuilding life through choice, not compulsion. Seeing possibilities where there were problems. It all begins with space. In this space, intuition sharpens. Connections appear effortlessly. Ideas flow. Answers arise without forcing. You stop searching with the mind and start seeing with the inner sense. Time transforms too. Days slow down. not from apathy, but alignment. Decisions simplify because you no longer live for approval. Even more surprising, the things you once chased begin coming toward you, not magically, but because you stopped blocking them. Picture an artist stuck in pressure. One day, he lets go, walks outside, and inspiration appears naturally. When you release the false, the real can finally enter. This state, creative freedom and connection to the self, contradicts the ego's logic. The ego seeks outcome, the self seeks expression. When the ego steps aside, the self directs, not with force, but with clarity. It speaks through joy, alignment, meaning. This is letting go in its most beautiful form. Not an ending, but a bridge between the old and the new. Letting go brings you home to yourself. Quiet, spacious, whole. The space that appears afterward isn't empty. It's waiting for you. Life doesn't scream, it whispers. And in this quieter inner world, you finally hear it. In the end, everything comes down to one simple gesture: opening your hand and releasing the old stories and fears. Not from exhaustion, though exhaustion often begins the journey, but from understanding. Eventually, holding on hurts more than letting go. Attachment feels safe, but isn't love. It grows from fear. Love is allowing life to move even when it defies expectations. Control looks like strength, but is only resistance. The ego tries to force life into its demands, but no one can battle life endlessly. Jung taught that healing begins not by forcing change, but by accepting reality, by looking at what is instead of what should be. Acceptance is not defeat. It is the doorway to real transformation. Now the most important question: what are you still holding on to? What identity, expectation, or outdated story occupies space within you and blocks what wants to come? And what might happen if you let it go? Letting go involves risk, but holding on does too. We weren't born to perform roles. We were born to live. And true living requires courage, the courage to release what no longer serves, to face what matters, to return to yourself. Life begins where the illusion of control ends. And in that quiet space, we find ourselves not idealized, but present. And from presence, all that matters naturally finds its way. If this message resonated, turn on notifications so you don't miss the next reflections on letting go, self-awareness, and Jung's insights applied to everyday life. If you reach the end, write in the comments, "I release what no longer belongs to me." So I'll know you walk this path with me and that these words touched you. See you in the next video.